The idea that a dog fed on raw food is easier to train is probably best looked at from the idea that an incorrectly fed dog is certainly harder to train. And so, going back to my experience as a dog trainer, I pretty much only trained dogs that were fed on raw. And these were competition level dogs, so they were the elite. And one of the very first things that we would often do when a client would bring in an unruly dog, or any dog for training, is agree with them that they will be fed the way that we feed our dogs. And in cases where we would have dogs in the boarding kennels where we weren't training the dogs, you could certainly see a marked difference in the behaviour just in kennels between the dogs that were fed on raw versus the dogs that weren't. So the dogs that were fed on raw would tend to, we'd give them a meal in the morning and a meal at night time. They'd get into a routine and they would be trained in the day. The dogs that perhaps were not fed on raw, boarding kennel dogs, would tend to wake up barking and shouting and running around the kennels, and go to bed pretty much barking and shouting and running around the kennels. And so I would suggest that if it was my job to have to professionally train those dogs, I would maybe make the suggestion to the owners that we change the diet early on, because again we go back to the idea that a raw diet is more natural, and there are a lot of self-regulating elements to a raw diet that are perhaps not there if a dog is on the wrong diet.